Okay, so today we're going to be looking at chapter 12, and we're going to take 2 weeks to cover this chapter. There's three things that I really want to talk about here. We're looking at special prison populations, and we're going to talk about the inmates who are coming in that have drug and alcohol problems. We're going to talk about some of the inmates coming in that have HIV and other medical problems. And then finally, we're going to end up talking about geriatric inmates. And I'm going to cover all three of these real briefly here in this introductory video. So let's talk about drug use and treatment. One of the things that we see with inmates coming in is quite a few of them are actually coming in addicted to drugs and alcohol, which goes into the idea that drugs and alcohol contribute, of course, to criminality. So if we've got these inmates that are coming in and they are addicted to drugs and they're addicted to alcohol, what do we do with them once we get them into the institution? How do we go about treating them? By the way, some of the research says that the highest suicide rates in drugs in prisons occur within the first 24 to 48 hours once a person's been put in jail. The reason for that is those who are on drugs and alcohol can be coming down, they can be going through withdrawals, depression can set in. So drugs and alcohol have an effect on the criminal justice system. And we're going to look at some of the research here on how many inmates are coming in that are suffering from these issues. And then we're going to look about what are we doing about it. If we don't treat this problem now and we release the individual back into society, do we really expect them to remain clean in society without any treatment in the prison system? We'll also look at HIV and inmates coming in with things such as tuberculosis. There are not a large number of these inmates, typically very small when you consider the number of inmates that we have. But again, these pose problems to other inmates and to officers. It's a health risk, but it's also a medical burden that the prisons have to have. So how are we treating these inmates? The final thing that I want to talk about is geriatric prisons. Now let me go back and talk about how this came about. When structured sentencing came in, we thought it was a great idea that we're going to make people serve the entire sentence, which is a crime control model type of sentencing structure. And if you do the crime, you're going to do the time. Well, an unintended consequence was that is, what do we do with these inmates when they get older? We typically define an aging inmate or an older inmate as 50 and above. If you talk to anthropologists, they don't use a number. What they use are physical life skills. So when can a person no longer support themselves? When do they have to have canes, walkers, things like that? But the state uses the number 50 in its research reports. What's happening is this: as these inmates are getting older, the state is now having to foot the medical bills for them. We've got several prisons in this state that house elderly inmates. As a matter of fact, Randolph Correctional, which is here in Asheboro, is one of these institutions. We were taking a tour of it one day, and outside one of the medical wards were a whole bunch of air bottles for individuals who have to have oxygen, probably about 20 or 30. We also have a lot of medical expenses that come with these inmates. So we're housing people longer. We've got to be willing to take care of them, and we're going to look at the aging inmate prospect or aging inmate issue as well. So those are the things that we're going to look at over the next 2 weeks. If you have any questions, please post them on the Q&A forum or feel free to email me.